Alright guys, so the first major Manor Lords patch is here and ready to play. You can download it straight away. All you need to do is open Steam, right click on the game, select properties and betas, and then enter this password here. Choose the pre-release from the beta participation drop-down list, and then wait for the game to update essentially before you can play. And there are loads and loads of changes and updates, reworks to certain mechanics, some more detailed, some more general, additions as well, some new armor, some new mechanics that we're going to get into, and there's a huge amount of patch notes here. So this video is essentially going through all of this and my thoughts on all the changes and how it's going to impact the game. So what I've done here is copy paste all the patch notes into a new document just to make it a little bit easier. I've highlighted the bits that I think are the most important, that I think are going to have the biggest impact on your gameplay experience. And let's just go all of these one by one. So at the top, we've got a summary of the biggest changes. The rate of Hildebolt claims are reduced, which is a really nice big change. He used to, up until now, obviously claim really quickly. So hopefully this should be a little bit more balanced. The famous nun people spawning in huge numbers has been reduced as well, refusing to work, so that hopefully shouldn't be a problem anymore either. The clogged trading posts, big changes there to trading posts. The game being stuck at the summary screen after victory, that's been changed as well. Very weak archer damage, we're going to go into this in a little bit later, but archers and their damage have been upped by about 3 times, so hopefully that should make them a lot more effective in battles as well. Inefficient saw pits, which also triggered generic storage full problems. My god, that was the most annoying issue, so hopefully this has been fully resolved as well. Problems with optimizations in larger cities, a lot to do with marketplace supply, farming, pathfinding, all of that. Too harsh oversupply and undersupply systems. This is very general, but it goes into more detail in the patch notes itself as well, regarding, you know, specific resources being oversupplied and how it affects trade, or undersupplied, you know, ale being so difficult to produce and consumption being so high around that as well. So lots of really good stuff and changes to those systems. People and or livestock staying homeless even though there's living space in the settlement. That's a nice change as well. And then, as I said, overly high ale consumption deserves its own point in this patch notes. In terms of major changes, so we've got a king's tax which has been enabled, and what that means is on an annual basis you'll have to pay money to the king to keep him happy. And while this doesn't have any consequence at the moment, if you go into debt nothing happens, but in the future what's going to happen is you go into debt, the king is going to invade your land with an army, and that's probably going to be bigger, hopefully bigger, than the current Baron army from Hildebolt. So that is a very interesting, cool little feature to add in to put pressure on your economy. And when that future King's Army part of that feature comes in, it should make things even more interesting and challenging. We've got the global local trade switch for trading posts now as well, so the player can now switch trade to local only instead of global trading with merchants outside the map. For now, 2 trade posts between regions are the only thing that are required, so packing stations and that kind of stuff, that's all been kind of like basically made moot in favor of trading posts only. And then regional wealth is still required for exchanging goods between regions with a trading post, since he does want to keep the regions as independent as possible as economic units of their own, which is quite cool. Again, as I said in my previous video, it forces you to have a multi-region economy. In the next section, we've got gameplay balance. So the first one here that's cool is when consuming food, people will now pick a random food resource instead of eating food in a specific order. And that's why, for example, if you had a market and you had loads of houses around, some of those houses wouldn't have food because they kept trying to go for a specific food type first. And if that food type wasn't available, they wouldn't eat any other food. So this is a really nice change here. When harvesting, the crops are directly added to the field inventory instead of the villager inventory. This is good as well. Just makes harvesting walk times much more efficient, and there's not as much bottlenecking for farming. This is cool as well. Prioritized oxen plowing over transporting resources to the granary and to the warehouse. So this is a good one. I think there's a lot of balancing that's needed in terms of what the oxen is supposed to be doing at any given time. I think it's still a bit of a mixed bag. This probably isn't going to make as much of an impact as we'd like, but at least least it's a nice step in the right direction. Plowing definitely needs to come before you're moving resources around, so I like that quite a bit. Lowered the rate of the Baron claiming region, so we've just been through that. That should hopefully make a big impact on the challenging aspect. Instead of fighting a massive army per conquered region, hopefully it should make things a bit easier and more interesting. Food producing residential plots no longer stock up on their produce before they share with the marketplace. So the produce should constantly be streaming into the marketplace as it's being done instead of stocking them up, essentially, which is nice. Increased saw pit log storage space to 5. I actually just talked about a mod a couple days ago that does this, so it's nice to see this has been implemented directly into the game. Now we're getting to the real juice of it. So increased war bows ranged attack from 4 to 12. That's a huge buff to war bows. I think he's still experimenting with how archers should be used in a combat perspective in that kind of situation. Their positioning, their effectiveness should be the biggest impact on their use, but increasing that range at the very least will make them actually usable, because archers were so heavily nerfed at release. Trade logistics development branch now lowers the cost of new trade routes by 50%, which is a nice change. I think trade was overpowered by a very wide margin, so having it at reduced 50% rather than at 25 baseline is a nice change here as well to balance things out. Equally, cost of opening new trade routes now scales exponentially with every open trade route. So the more trade routes you open, the more expensive it's going to be, which is great. Great to see. Makes it all more difficult and challenging and less overpowered than what it was before. Better deals development branch reduces the foreign import tariff by 50% instead of removing it completely. Again, making that trade more difficult. Reduced ale consumption by 75%, which is really, really cool. Hopefully ale... I mean, to me, this seems a little bit too much. I can see ale being much more kind of easy to stockpile now. So I'm hoping that, you know, there's still a bit of balancing to do around ale production generally. If a trading post, I'm just going through little points here that I think are the most important, but there are other bits that are interesting that I obviously don't know as much about, like applied a mindfulness system that was initially designed for the oxen to the free merchants. This system is used to reduce clumps and traffic jams. Not sure about how much of an impact that's going to have, so I've kind of skipped it. If a trading post is clogged, traders are allowed to make transactions without entering the shed. So a much more late game Manor Lords, you know, you've got multiple trading posts happening, you've got traders coming in. Often you get like dozens of them in line trying to get in at the same time. So this should hopefully resolve that issue. Disabled fire damage for people who have water buckets and are actively firefighting. The main point of this really is reduce the fire damage amount. So I'm very interested to see how much of a reduction that is for fire against buildings and against individual people. Added a mourning period left of in the UI element, which is quite cool. So people die, they're buried, but now we have a mourning period. So people will maybe have reduced working efficiencies, and people, you know, basically it makes it a little bit more immersive. Makes you know, people dying actually have an impact on your village's efficiency and, you know, process and production. So this is a nice little added little mechanic here that I think a lot of people will miss out on. When Ox gathers a log, it will prioritize immediately bringing it to the saw pit before bringing it to the logging camp, unless construction reserve forbids it. So this is an interesting one. I actually don't like that it will bring it to the saw pit rather than the logging camp. I think it should be logging camp first, and then there should be, you know, other, I think that really what it is there should be a way to allocate specific oxen to specific tasks. That's what should really happen. Right now, it's all about prioritizing the system towards one thing in a list, right? But I think that would make it much more efficient, in my opinion. Improved marketplace logistics efficiency and optimization. This is very general, but marketplace definitely needed more efficiency. So this is a very, very big point here. I'm interested to see an experiment with this one very specifically. Tuned the AI retreat distances in an attempt to reduce. So this is a big one. In an attempt to reduce often how the archers get into a loop of attack and then retreat. So This is a really big one. I think this is more related to movement rather than, movement speed and attacking distances rather than retreat distances. So this is an interesting one to see as well. Hopefully archers are a little bit more from an AI perspective impactful rather than, if you get too close to them, they definitely start running away a little too early. Swap the old, now this is a good point, swap the old UE4 destructible system for a new Unreal 5 friendly chaos-based debris system. For now, it's just used for chopped firewood cutter logs. So this is a cool one. Basically, our first look into Slavic Magic using Unreal Engine 5 for the game. Possibly more of that coming in other features of the game as well. We don't know, but it's a nice, interesting introduction into the game for sure. Cap the number of workers who supply a single market stall at the same time to 2 to reduce markets getting completely clogged. This is a big one as well. Again, adding to the marketplace efficiencies that was mentioned above as well. Further optimize the market supply functions to make late game towns run smoother. So all of this is working towards making marketplaces a bit more engaging, interesting, easier to use. Hopefully the allocation of resources from markets to houses is a bit more efficient and streamlined as well. So yeah, those are the kind of balancing features of the patch notes. And then finally, we have kind of like the bug fixes, which there are some pretty good ones here. Fixed crops dying in the winter instead of actually increasing yield, so that's a big one. Fixed crop rotation unplowing the fields, another big one. Fixed paused taverns fulfilling the entertainment requirement. I saw a post about this the other day about how much of an exploit this is. So this has been removed completely. Fix attempt for never-ending fires if a fire was triggered. This is a pretty good one. I mean, fires ongoing forever is quite immersion breaking, so that's nice to see. Fix storage full triggering for wrong buildings. Oh my god, again, another really big one. Same with the saw pit up above. So storage full messages should hopefully be a little less frequent with that one. Fix the bug where a unit could no longer move due to the being forever stuck in waiting for pathfinding to finish. So this is another very big one as well. Units, combat units, you order them, sometimes they get there or sometimes they don't move at all for at least a few minutes. So this is a big bug that should hopefully make unit movement and pathfinding a bit easier and more smooth as well moving forward. Added a dirty fix for families moving into homes but not registering correctly and not displaying in the UI, leading to a secret family living in one of the burgage plots. So this is a really funny one. I had no idea this was a thing. You could have secret families living in certain houses. I guess they were working as well, so it was just making those houses even more OP than others, right? So that's quite a funny one to understand. I like that he's added it here anyway, even though I'm sure nobody really realized that there was a secret family moving into some of those plots. And then finally added a carried body visualization, which is really nice. And these cosmetic sections, there's some new armor that's been added in, armor variants. We've got a what's the one I'm thinking about? Pointy bassinet, which is quite cool. Coat of plates. We've got a new helmet, patron saint banner as well, Saint Maurice, and various animations have been redone, refixed, doors opening, things like that. So yeah, essentially, there's a lot to go through here. I mean, huge patch notes, major changes to various mechanics that a lot of people have been talking about since the game released. Ale production, farming efficiencies, the marketplace being really clogged, not really working as efficiently as people would like to spread those foods that you're working so hard to produce. And then other resources, trading being a huge issue right now in terms of overpowered for players, and hopefully that should be a bit nerfed as well. And of course, from a combat perspective, hopefully some pathfinding has been fixed. The archers, their nerf has been not as nerfed, so they should be more usable and much more of an incentive to recruit those. So yeah, alongside some of those major changes, the King's Tax, the global local trade switching, Hildebolt's claims being reduced, there's some more minor changes that are just as important in my opinion. again. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this all plays out, but this is very fresh and new. I wanted to make a quick video. I'm not sure many people know about this, and it's a great reason to get in there and try out some of these changes in this new beta patch. As I said, it's very easy to install as well. You just go into the properties, into the betas tab, and key in that password to get the update straight away. So that's it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below, and let me know if you have, you know, any issues with the patch. If you have any kind of like bugs or crashes that you've experienced so far, definitely let me know, and let the guys know in the Discord as well. I'm sure they would really appreciate feedback on this patch as well. Subscribe to the channel for more Manor Lords content and news and updates just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.